Hello everyone, I'm Jason, and for today's Psychology Snapshot, we will talk about the Oedipus and Electra complex. But let us begin with discussing who is Oedipus. So, Oedipus was a king of Thebes, which is a city-state in Greece, and he had a number of adventures, like the time when he solved the riddle of Sphinx. So, the Sphinx asked him, "What is the creature that walks on four legs in the morning, two legs at noon, and three legs in the evening?" And Oedipus said, "Man." And that made the Sphinx die. Now, Oedipus also killed his father without actually knowing it was his father, and he married his own mother, Jocasta. Freud had seen the play by Sophocles called The Oedipus Rex, and he was struck by his feelings on watching the play and how it impacted both ancient and modern audiences. And he decided that the play tapped into a universal psychological conflict that are banished to the unconscious through repression. And he says that this occurs during the phallic stage of development, which was between 3 to 6 years old. And that children during this stage becomes aware of their bodies and recognizes the differences between boys and girls. Now, during this time, Freud proposes that the child develop an incestuous desire for the opposite sex parents and at the same time a rivalry with the same sex parents. Or in psychodynamic term, he says that the libido or the life force becomes directed at the mother in boys while they feel jealousy for their father. Now, this comes out in the Oedipus complex. While the boy's id desire to kill the father, the ego, which works on the reality principles, realizes that the father is bigger and stronger than him. And so the boy comes to fear the father and develop castration anxiety, or the fear that the father will castrate him in punishment for his sexual feelings about his mom. However, this conflict is resolved when the boy employs the defense mechanism of identification to take on personality characteristics of the father. And Freud would say that this identification allows the boy to develop the superego standards of the father. So, in another way of saying is, if I want somebody like mom, I'll be like dad. And that's the way to resolve it. So, the defense mechanism of repression is also used here to banish this conflict to the unconscious. Well, what about in girls? Now, Freud says he actually caused this negative Oedipus complex in girls, but his student proposes the term Electra complexes, which actually describe the same conflict. Now, girls do not experience castration anxiety because they do not have penis. And Freud said that women were actually castrated by God. So instead, they develop penis envy, which is not resolved until they give birth to a male child of their own, which Freud said replaces their absent penis. So also during this stage of development, a girl transfer their primary erogenous zone from the clitoris to the vagina. Now, Freud thought that the clitoris was infantile and immature and the vagina was adult. And so he drew a distinction between the clitoral and vaginal orgasm. Now, how is all this being resolved? Well, when the Oedipus or Electra conflicts is successfully resolved, the child develops their superego standards and internalizes morality. And what does it means when they internalize and comply with the societal rules than just doing things because they fear punishment? And so that is a positive. So, what about when things don't work out? Well, if there is an unresolved Oedipus conflicts in boys, that can lead to a man who is overly aggressive, overly ambitious, vain, and a show off. So, an unresolved Electra complex in girls can lead to a woman who thrives to dominate men through either being seductive or very submissive. So Freud also believed that the boy or a girl could develop sexual feelings for the same-sex parent, and that those were the origin of the Freud for Freud of gay and or for gay and lesbian sexual orientation. So that is the Oedipus complex. Okay, thank you.